everybody, this is Michelle Prince. I'm so excited that you're here to talk about the power of authority. I love the topic of authority. And what is authority? Authority is not that you're better than anyone else. Authority is the ability to impact more people. And so when I talk about authority, I'm talking about who you are, what you do as a business owner or as a community member, or even in a family. You have influence and authority over people and in a way that will help to make a bigger difference in this world. And so when we're going to go through this framework that I've put together to really help you build a platform of authority and what that looks like. But the term, the power of authority, comes from my latest book. In 2019, I wrote a book called The Power of Authority: How to Get More Revenue, Respect, and Results, or How to Get the Revenue, Respect, and Results That You Deserve by Writing a Book. And it was really a play on words. And the play on words is you can't spell authority without author. And as a publisher and as an author of many books, I love stories. And I do believe that when you tell your story and you get it out there in a format like a book, you create authority. You create it just by the means of the fact that you are published. So part of what I talk about with authority is based on your story 100%, but really this goes beyond just a book. This really is, how do you build your authority platform in a way that you can attract more people, help more people, personally, professionally. And so we'll go through all that. But let's first kick things off with, what can the power of authority do for you? Now, I don't know who you are. I don't know where you're from necessarily, but if you have a business, I can promise you this: when you have an authority platform, you have the ability to grow your business, because people want to work with the expert. People want to work with the authority. And so when you have that credibility, when you are you stand out from your competition, you make it easy for your clients, your prospects to see that you're the natural choice for them, you automatically are going to grow your business. I mean, there's just no way it doesn't work that way. But it also does a lot more. So that credibility is what really leads into other opportunities. So if you want to be the go-to authority in your industry, whatever that is, whether you're a real estate agent or a roofer, or maybe you're a doctor, you want to be known for the specialty that you provide. Being the authority, being an author, enables you to do that. And so when somebody thinks about your industry, they think about your topic, they think of you. That's what authority is. And in doing so, you get all of these additional opportunities. So opportunities to potentially to speak, opportunities to do consulting, maybe opportunities to be in the media, on podcasts. These are all things that are just going to further build your authority platform even more, but they're typically only attracted to those who already have one. So more reason why it's important to get whatever you're doing for your business or even in personal, and you get it in a book, it's going to bring you more and more opportunities, which of course brings in additional revenue streams. I'm going to be talking a lot about our core message, because we all have a core message, right? And if you are a business owner, your core business is likely wrapped around that core message. If you don't have a business, then you do have a core message that you share with others to impact them in some way. But what happens is when you take that core message and you put it out in all of these different formats and all of these different learning styles, that it creates multiple revenue streams. And so if you're looking to build your revenue this year, if you're looking to build not just your business, but opportunities outside the business, then building your authority is really key. But the last thing is if you're really looking to make a difference in a broader way, I do believe that this is one of the best ways to do it. I've yet to meet somebody who started a business that didn't really start it because they ultimately wanted to make a bigger impact, right? They wanted to make a difference. Now, ultimately, they want to make a difference for themselves as well by growing their business. But most of us, when we start a business, we start because we have a passion for something or a passion for a group of people that we want to help. I'm here to tell you that if you want to make a difference, if you want to make a bigger difference, then you're already making a difference. But if you want to make a bigger difference, then you have to tell your story. And when you get it out there in a certain way that I'm going to share with you how, it will build that authority and it'll bring you all of those benefits that we just talked about. So I'll share just a little bit of my backstory. You may or may not know who I am. If this is the first time you've ever met me, then I'll let you know this. I started my career working for Zig Ziglar. I was just out of college. It's a funny long story I won't get into, but it was something my parents gifted me with a ticket to a seminar to go see Zig Ziglar. And I didn't want to go. I went kicking and screaming initially, but it ended up being a life-changing event for me. And it really set the stage for a good part of the rest of my life. But I made a goal that weekend, and I made actually a proclamation or a declaration. I walked up to Zig and I looked him in the eye and I said, I'm going to work for you one day. You just wait and see. And I was 18 years old. So I really didn't know how that would ever happen. But it was almost 5 years to the day that I ended up working at the corporate office. And again, it's a long story I won't get into. The point of it is, though, this was my foundation. And I absolutely loved everything about working with Zig. If you know who Zig Ziglar is, you know he is an incredible, incredible author, speaker, man. But it was just so rewarding to know that what we were doing every single day, whether somebody was buying a book, whether somebody was, listening to a CD, or it wasn't even a CD then, it was cassette tapes, or hiring him to come in and speak or do training, we were making a difference. And so it was a really special time in my life. But around the dot-com boom, it was around 1999, I had an opportunity, and I was actually recruited away from Ziglar. And that was the beginning of me getting into technology sales, which eventually led to software sales. And I spent the next 13 years in corporate America, the real corporate America. Working at Ziglar was a dream. But I did that, and I wanted to climb a corporate ladder. I wanted to make more money. These were all the things that I really thought would make me happy and make me fulfilled. I figured it out pretty quick, although it took me 13 years to really wake up from that slumber of just doing what I had to do all day, every day. My responsibilities kept growing, and I just kept getting less and less passionate. Is that the ladder I was climbing was really leaning up against the wrong wall. So I started to ask myself, well, what would I do if I could do anything? What are some of the things that I'm really passionate about? And something that I had said to myself most of my life, but I didn't dare tell anyone, was I wanted to write a book. So in 2009, I decided that, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to write a book. Now, this book that I'm writing, I will only share with my children. I had 2 boys in elementary school at the time. I'd share it with my husband, maybe my parents, but this was just a goal book, something that I wanted to do for myself. Famous last words, because this book is what really launched my entire business that I now have as a full-time career of speaking and coaching and helping other people to figure out their stories. But because I put my stories, which by the way are not that great, into a book, my authority went through the roof. All of a sudden, I was being asked to speak and to coach and to do all of these things that I could have done before, but nobody asked. So I was the exact same person the day before I wrote my book, the exact same person the day after, but yet all of a sudden I have these opportunities. So this is one of the reasons why I love helping people to get clarity on their authority story, because when you put it out there, you don't know what's going to come of it. But that was my first book. And that's really what launched everything. My second book, it was called Busy Being Busy, but Getting Nothing Done. And it was really just time management tips and tricks, because frankly, I was so busy trying to build a business, still working a corporate software sales job, kids in elementary, and I just had to figure out how to better use my time. But what I found was the information was so good, and the companies that I was doing some speaking for had a need for time management. So I just put it in a book, and that opened up more opportunities for me. One of the things, though, that consistently kept coming up as I was speaking in the early years in 2009 was that people would ask me, how do you write a book? And I would tell them, and I would give them everything I knew about writing a book, publishing a book, building a platform, and I do it for free, because I kept saying, if I could do this, you could do this. One of those books that came out was Your Book is Your Business Card. And this is a book that is a business card book. Truly, it's small. It's a little book that I give away for free. And it's because people will throw away your business card, but they won't throw away a book. So I use this as leverage to build my business. And my last book that I wrote in 2019 is The Power of Authority, which is what we're talking about, right? It's even beyond the book, but it's like, what can you do to build a platform to impact more people? So the results of me writing these books and then as a result of that, getting asked to speak and coach and do all these things is what really led to the publishing company, because I saw that there was so many people out there that had incredible stories, but they didn't have a platform. They didn't have the ability to tell their story. So I said, well, if you want to tell your story, I'm going to help you do it. And we opened the publishing company in 2010. I do a live event called Bookbound, where most of these books that you're seeing here came to our seminar, had no idea how to write a book, what they would write about. And through the process that we taught them, they learned and they wrote their book, or we published it for them. But these are all stories of people that it's not about the book. It's about what they're doing with it and how they now have this authority to go out and make a difference. Maybe they're making a difference for their business, or maybe they're making a difference in ministry, or maybe they just wanted to have a legacy book for their family. But each and every one of these is the same story. They had it all in their head. They just needed to get it out of their head and onto paper. And now that it is, they're using it to build their authority. So I'll just encourage you by saying, if all of these people can do this and who have listened to some of the same information I'm sharing with you right now, if I can do this with no knowledge of publishing, no knowledge of how to be a great writer, I was never a great writer when I was young. So how is it possible that in order to, you can still put all of your content into a book and still use it to build an authority platform? Well, I'm going to show you how we do it, because it is possible. And I'm going to take you through this framework. It's kind of like a journey. The steps do go in order, but I call it the authority framework because I have seen, if I think of any single person that has a big platform, meaning they're making a big impact. Zig Ziglar had a huge platform. He had books, he was a speaker, he did training, he did so many different things, and he had influence, and that influence came as a result of his authority. So, but what I've seen is with everybody who has that kind of authority, they followed this process to some degree. And so I want to walk you through it. The first step in the authority framework is clarity. And I mean, isn't everything about clarity, right? We can't really accomplish anything if we don't know what we want. So this is where we have to start. And this has nothing to do with the book. This has to do with you. This has to do with, what do you want for your personal life? What do you want for your family? What do you want for your business, for your finances? What do you really, really want? And sometimes, especially if you're a business owner or an entrepreneur, there's just not enough time in the day to really sit down and answer or ask the question, let alone answer it. So, but I do want you to take a second and really think about this, because you cannot build anything, especially an authority platform that makes an impact in people's lives, if you don't know what you want. You just can't do it, because we build off of clarity, which you'll see. But one of the easiest ways to figure out what do you really want is just to ask this question. This is Zig's question. I use it all the time. In fact, I've used it with my kids their whole life for New Year's Eve goal setting, is asking yourself, what do you want to be, do, and have? Meaning, what kind of a person do you want to be this year? How do you want to show up? How do you want to show up at work? How do you want to show up to your spouse, to your kids? What do you need to work on in yourself this year? Those are some goals to set. And then what do you want to do? Do you want to write a book? Do you want to travel? Do you want to take a 2-week vacation? Do you want to start a business? What do you want to do? And then the have is, what do you want to have? What are the results you want to get? And having could be, I want to have more money, or I want to have more time, or bigger house, or a bigger impact. The key with this question, though, is most of us start with the have. What do we want? And those are usually the goals that we sit down and write usually. But the truth is, you will never have the things you want until you do what needs to be done in order to get those results. But you can't do what needs to be done to get the results if you are not the person capable of doing it. So you have to start with yourself. You have to start with your mindset. You have to start with clarity on who do you want to be, so that you are capable of doing what needs to be done to have the results that you want. And so it's just a simple way of defining what you want. And I don't have time to go in depth on this, obviously, on this webinar, but I encourage you to really sit down and look at your life and look at your life in all of the different areas. You're not just your career. You're not just your personal life or your family life. Represents the wheel of life. This is Zig Ziglar's wheel of life. And it really represents you because we're all of these things wrapped in one. But the key with this exercise is taking a snapshot of where are you right now? Nobody needs to see the answers to this, but ask yourself, how am I doing in my spiritual life? How am I doing in my mental life? Am I reading things that are making me positive, the good, the pure, the positive, or am I filling it with negativity and trash? How about my physical health? Am I doing anything to take care of myself? Am I eating at McDonald's every day, or am I working out, taking care of myself? Ranking yourself from 1 to 10 is what the exercise is. 10 being you've got this, it's awesome. 1, there's a lot of room for improvement. And honestly, plotting yourself along those lines and then connecting the dots. And we call this the wheel of life. And if you look at that wheel, you have to ask yourself, well, how bumpy is your ride? So the intention of this is just to give you the clarity on where you need to spend some time setting goals, setting your intentions, doing things to make some changes. This is always changing. You'll never be perfectly balanced. But the key with building authority and making a bigger impact is knowing where you need to start and knowing what you want. And that's that first part and the first step of clarity. But let's move forward to step number 2, because I see this all the time. I see this especially on the publishing side of the business. The workshop I mentioned to you, Bookbound, is a live event. In fact, we paused it the last 2 years because of COVID, and we are bringing it back next month. Just a little, I'll give you a little sneak peek on that. April 7th and 8th in Dallas, Texas, we are doing Bookbound. So if you're thinking of writing, publishing, or marketing a book, you want to be there, bookboundworkshop.com. But my point is when people come to Bookbound, a lot of them have that clarity already. They either know that they want to write a book, or they know that they know their story, they know the people they want to help, but yet they don't do it. And it's usually because something is holding them back. And that something could be legitimate. I mean, it could be fear. You could have fear of success, fear of failure. It could be procrastination. A lot of us are procrastinators. But what I see more than anything else, especially for those who have the potential to make the biggest impact, is they lack something completely different. And it's that lack of belief. The lack of belief in that you have the ability to make an impact, that anyone cares what you have to say. It's that imposter syndrome that shows up whenever you think like, oh, maybe I could do this. And then it just shuts you down. Like, who do you think you are? I know this to be true because this is exactly what happened to me in those 13 years in corporate America when I dreamed of doing something else. I dreamed of getting back into motivating and inspiring and encouraging people like I did at Ziglar, but I didn't have the guts and I didn't have the belief. And I would seriously stop myself sometimes and say, who do you think you are? You're no Zig Ziglar. But what happens is just because you believe something doesn't make it true. For example, have you ever had a situation where you're, maybe at somebody else's house or maybe in a restaurant and you're walking real fast and then all of a sudden you just kind of bonk, you get hit in the head. A clear door, a sliding glass door was shut, but it was so clear that you just couldn't even see it and you just run right into it. Am I the only one who's ever done that? It's a mortifying situation if you've ever done it. Very embarrassing. What's the point? The point is, just because I didn't see that door doesn't mean it didn't stop me in my tracks. It did, and it will every single time. That's your belief. Just because you don't know that you have these negative beliefs does not mean it's not stopping you. It is. It is affecting everything, your relationships, your business. It's affecting your finances because you are living a life based on your thoughts. And if you're thinking you're not good enough, or thinking, oh, who cares about my story, or thinking, I'll never be successful, or I'll never this, I'll never, then guess what? That screen door or that glass door is blocking you and you can't move forward. The good news is, though, that there is a way to overcome it. And at Bookbound, we spend more time on this because I've seen this with authors especially. I could teach you everything there is to know about writing a book, publishing a book, marketing a book. But guess what? If you don't believe that you have the ability to tell your story and people to be impacted, you won't do it. So we spend some time on it. I can't do it now, but you can overcome these negative beliefs. First, it's identifying what they are, and then it's really just reprogramming it. Your mind is like a computer. You have programmed it to believe things that are not true, believing things to hold you back, but you can reprogram it with the things you do want. And that's through affirmations and some other ways. But however you do it, I have to start with those 2 steps, because if first you don't know what you want, which is step 1, and 2, you don't know what's holding you back, there's no way to move forward in this wheel, in this authority framework. So spend the time where you need to, if that's where you are right now. Because once you do overcome those things, now you can move into step number 3, which is identifying your story. I love this. This is probably my favorite thing that we do at Bookbound, or one of my favorites. I have 2 things that we love to do. First is helping people to figure out what their story is. You have a story, without a doubt. If I had 10 minutes with you, maybe 5, I could figure it out really, really quickly how, what your story is, what your book potentially should be about, what your core message is, because everything you would tell in a book or anywhere, it's right here. So we just got to help you sort that out. And we do that at Bookbound. One of the easiest ways to think about your story is just to think about who you are. You are your story, by the way. And your story is a combination of your passions, your experiences. And so it's not that it's this rocket science, but it's that figuring out the intersection of the 2. So for example, I'm passionate about personal development. I love seminars, like-minded people who enjoy seminars like this. So I'm very passionate about this stuff. I'm also passionate about the beach. You may or may not be able to tell, but I have my office decorated like I'm at the beach because I love the beach and I want to have that feeling every day. I love pugs, passionate about my faith, and so on. Those are just some ideas. Experience, though, is similar, but not necessarily the same. We experience things in our life that we may or may not have enjoyed. We have great experiences, such as, I'm a mom. I was in sales most of my career. I worked for Zig Ziglar. Those are some awesome experiences. I'm an author, speaker. I was a dancer when I was younger and I got to travel the world. So those are some cool experiences. But my last thing I have listed there, I'm telling you, because to make a point that sometimes in life we go through things: abuse, divorce, bankruptcy, self-esteem issues, things like that impact who you are. And it was a part of your story. When I was in middle school, early high school, I had really low confidence, low self-esteem. And so that impacted my life. It impacted how I felt about myself, the people I hung around with, the choices I made. And so it goes on my list because it was a part of my story. Now, do I need to sit down and tell her detail of that? Absolutely not. But it is a part of me, so it has to go on the list. But the magic of really figuring out your story is, where is that intersection? What is it that you're passionate about and you have experience? For me, I'm passionate about personal development, and I worked for Zig Ziglar. I mean, he was the master of personal development. And I had low self-esteem. So I read personal development books. I listened to cassette tapes. I used personal development to get me out of that situation. And it did work. So that intersection is really what my first book was all about: winning in life now, how to break through to a happier you. It was the story of my ups and downs in life and how I use personal development and the things I learned from Zig Ziglar to get me through them. And that's my story. And that really is the core message of my life and everything I've done long before I wrote a book and forever after I write the book. So you have something similar, and it's just a matter of going through these exercises with us. I encourage you to come to Bookbound to do this, because even if you don't write a book, to have that clarity on your story and what it is and who you can help and impact with it is just so powerful. But just know this, it matters. And even if it only mattered to one person, if you knew that your story could impact someone for the good, to help them build a business or to help them overcome something, wouldn't you tell it? I think you would, and it would be worth it. But I can promise you it matters to a lot more than one. All right, but we do have to move on. So once you've identified your story, that's just knowing what, gifts and talents and strengths that you can share with someone else to help them. You're doing it every single day. You figured it out, though, through that process. But now you got to do something with it. We have to document it. You can't just keep it all in your head. Things that stay in our head, hopefully get out. We did a book for someone one time, and he wanted to call it "Don't Die with Your Book Inside," and because it was all about like life's too short. Don't waste what you know. And it is true. And that goes with this step is you got to get it out of your head. Maybe you do a webinar, maybe you talk your thoughts, maybe you sit down and write a book, maybe you do it on a podcast. However you can get it out of your head and then document it is key. Maybe you journal it, but don't just sit there thinking, oh, yeah, I'll do something with it someday. You won't. It's this act of actually getting it out of your head that really gives you the motivation to go to the next step, because there's more than just journaling, right? We have to actually do something with that content. And that's where step number 5 comes in. And that's publishing. Now, I am a book publisher. So when I say publishing, a lot of people think I mean only book publishing. And I do believe that writing a book is one of the best ways to build your platform. But publish means just getting it in a format that other people could utilize. So maybe it's a book, maybe it's a podcast, maybe it's a CD or something. It could be anything. But publish means is getting that content, that story you identified and you got out on your head on the paper, getting it out to the people who can benefit from it. And again, I do think writing a book is probably the easiest way to open up your authority platform, because it's a door opener. Your book is your business card. I believe that with all my heart. And people will throw away a business card, but they won't throw away a book. This little book, I have more opportunities that have come to my business through this book than any other marketing that I've done, believe it or not. And I give it away for free. And it's because I'll give this to somebody when I'm out speaking or if I'm at a networking event, and they keep it. We value content. How many books are on your bookshelf right now that you have not read? You never will read, but you just don't throw it away. Maybe you do, but most of us don't. And so that value we place on books is what also brings all that credibility and differentiates you. So few people do it, even though there's a million books out there, but literally in the whole scope of the world, very few people take action on the thoughts that they've already figured out. So that, going back to the platform, or the authority framework, is it's not just like having these great ideas and these great stories, it's doing something with them, it's activating it. And publishing is activating your story out into the world. Which then leads to step number 6, which is the platform. I love talking about platform. At Bookbound, we actually spend a lot of time on this, because you can have the best book in the world, you can have the best intentions, but unless you have a platform that people can come to gain your wisdom and insight, you're not going to make the impact that you want. So the platform is really what gives you the ability to tell your story. And what do I mean by platform? So and it could be many different things, but speaking, coaching, podcasting, blogging, social media, these are all different channels of platforms, right? But it's the ability to talk to more people than you would have an opportunity to one-on-one. Thing with platform though, is it's not just something you want, you say, oh, I want it. You have to earn it. You have to earn the right to get people's attention. And so when you have a platform, not only are you speaking and telling and saying things and sharing information that you know, but people want to hear what you have to say. And when they want to hear what you have to say, they're more likely to absorb it and make it impact their life. So if you think about it this way, it's just, you can't possibly make an impact in the world if you don't have a platform. And I've seen where many people have failed in this. And so what that means is getting that clarity on how you want your platform to be built. And for some, it's writing that book. And for others, it's taking it a step further. And for others, it's another step and another step. That is totally up to you. But just know this, that if you really want to have the benefits of authority, have the benefits of being published, then you have to know you have to build this platform. And a platform, if you think about like a little platform that you stand on, what does that mean? It just means the ability to rise above, not because you're better, just because you've earned the right. And again, now people want to hear what you have to say. And that is what leads to the final step in this framework that I think is the most important step. And that is, once you have a platform, once you've gone from success to significance and you're sharing this content and you're sharing your wisdom and people are benefiting from it, Now you're inspiring people. You're inspiring other people to take action on what you're teaching them, but also you will probably never know the number of people you are inspiring because you took action, not necessarily on the content, but just seeing you like, wow, if he can do this, I can do this. Or if she can put herself out there and, do webinars and write books and do all these things, then maybe I can too. So you never really know the power you have on somebody's life to change it for the good. And in some cases, till it's too late. Many people die never knowing the impact that they really made. So, but it happens. And what you'll notice in this framework here, it doesn't stop at step 7. It actually then restarts, because once you have gone through this, and this is a journey in yourself, it's a journey of figuring out, who you are, what you want, what's holding you back, and then claiming what your core message is, what your story is, and then getting it out there in a way, documenting it and publishing it and building this platform to help people. And now people are being inspired by you, and you may not ever know. But what happens is now they're going to go out and do the same thing. It's going to inspire them to start looking at their own life, their own skills, their own strengths, their own things. They're going to start looking at what's holding them back. And so it's this cycle that just keeps going and going and going. And I think Zig Ziglar's quote sums it up best. And this is really what this framework is all about. You can have everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. And what do people want? They want hope. They want encouragement. They want to know that they're not alone. They want to know that there's an easier way to do this. They want to know that there's a instruction card or a cheat sheet for them to not have to go through maybe all the steps that you went through. And so when you do that and you see that and you put that out there, that is the power of authority. And it's just, at the end of the day, it's making a difference in other people's lives. But it does benefit you. I mean, as a business owner, there is no doubt when you have authority and credibility and you stand out from your competition that it's gonna benefit you. This is one of our doctors that we did he's a dentist actually. We did a little mini book for him, and he uses this little mini book as a giveaway, just like I do. He gives it away for free, gives it to his referral sources, so like real estate agents. And so when somebody moves to the neighborhood, they get this little book of how to find an extraordinary dentist. And if somebody were to actually read it, the natural conclusion after reading that book is that they need to call Dr. Matheny. So it's a powerful marketing tool in that respect. And it's building his authority because he's a published author, no matter the size of the book. We've done, hundreds and hundreds of books for people through the years. Dr. Jason West, he came to Bookbound years ago. We've done several books for him now. This was his first one, Hidden Secrets to Curing Chronic Disease. And he also used it to build his authority. And so he has a practice where patients would come, and instead of telling him, here's how we can help you, here's how we've helped other people, he literally slides that book across the table and he says, look at chapter 8. That's, maybe it's on diabetes or whatever their illness is. This is how we do things here. This is how we can help you. And these are some case studies. So he doesn't even have to sell what he does. It's all in the book for him. And again, he's done multiple books. I have example after example after example after example, and I'm not going to go through them all. But I just need you to know, though, that these people are no different than you in that they had something. They figured out their story, and they figured out why it's important to share it and how to use it to build their authority, because ultimately they had businesses that they wanted to scale, to build, right? So, but maybe you want to use your authority in a different way. Maybe you want to make an impact in a ministry or something like that. Just know you can't have that authority and you can't have the influence if you don't have the platform, and the platform won't come until you've published yourself and you've figured yourself out and you put yourself out there. That's really what this all boils down to. Before we wrap up, I do want to just mention it again. So Bookbound is something I am so passionate about because I see lives change. I mean, it's never about a book. People come because they think they want to write, publish, or market a book. But at the end of the day, they leave there with clarity on themselves and their story and what they could do with it. And and we haven't been able to do it because of COVID the last couple of years. This is a picture of a Bookbound by the Sea that we were doing at the beach at the time. We're not going to the beach. We're going to Dallas, Texas, but it'll be worth it. It's April 7th and 8th. And you just register at bookboundworkshop.com. And I'll throw in anyone that registers as a result of this webinar gets a free copy of my book, The Power of Authority. It's a digital download, so you get it right away, and we'll send that to you as well. So again, bookboundworkshop.com, and register before we fill up. It's a small workshop, so we have to shut it down at 50 people. All right, let me wrap this whole thing up, going back to the framework. The framework is simple. It's not easy because you have to do the work. You have to get that clarity and figure out what you really want. And then you have to figure out, well, why don't I have it? And what is really holding me back, and work on that, whether it be your negative beliefs, whether it's your procrastination or fear, whatever it is. It has to get worked out in order for you to then identify your story and get it out of your head onto paper. Because once you do that, and once you publish it and you put it out into the world, you now have this platform that brings people in that you can help, that you can make an impact in. And that's when you encourage and inspire others to do the same. But you have to do it now. I mean, I think now, truthfully, as difficult as the last couple of years have been, this is truly an opportunity right now. I'm seeing more and more people want to connect with other individuals, business owners, entrepreneurs that are authentic, that they know their backstory, that they know they get them beyond what they do for a living. And so that's why we have to tell our stories. And so there's an opportunity right now, but you got to get clarity on your message. No matter if you write a book or not, this is key. If you can't articulate to somebody in 30 seconds or less how you can help them, then you don't know your message, because that's really what this is all about, right? Specifically, how can you help someone personally or professionally? That's your message. But leverage what you've already done and what you already know. You are already the authority on whatever it is you do. And if nothing else, you are the authority on your life. There is no one that has walked the exact same steps as you, even if it's similar. So you have this ability and authority to impact other people, but you got to leverage it. You can't just keep it all up here. You have to do something with it in order for people to benefit from it. You have to make a decision, though. Are you the authority? I mean, until you believe that you're the authority, nobody else is going to believe you are. So it does start with you. So you have to claim it. I am the best at what I do here. I do have something that I know can help you. And so by claiming it, you're stepping yourself out of the complacency of all your competitors, right? So, but you have to start it. Nobody's going to come to you and say, now you are worthy. Now you are worthy to be an authority. No, you claim it, and then it happens. But you got to build your brand. I mean, it's beyond just wanting it. You have to build it. You have to monetize it, because the more money we make, the more people we help. That's really the reality of business. So, but you do have to do the work to get that done. And, now is the time to make a difference. People need encouragement and hope more than ever. We had the mass exodus of corporate America. People are looking for my next, right? So if you have something that could help them to grow a business or to learn a skill or overcome whatever's holding them back, then do it, because it will make a difference in someone else's life. And ultimately, that's what I think most of us want to do. But there is a but. Because one thing I do know, more and more people are understanding this message. I speak on the power of authority a lot. And the more I speak on it, the more it resonates with people to understand it. So that means you need to do this. You need to do it now before someone else does it first. And that someone else, if you're a business owner, it's your competition. You want to be the one to be unique enough and stand out enough and to be considered the authority. But you do need to do it now, because I think most people are starting to really look at themselves and look at their next stage of life. And if you have something that you could put into a book to enable you to be the authority to impact more people's lives, you got to do it now. It will never get less busy or easier. So just do it now. And one of the ways that I know we can help you to do this and really, truly know that you could be an author in this year is come to Bookbound. And there's no worries of if you commit to writing a book or not. I don't care if you write a book or not, but I do care for you to get clarity on your story and how you can use it to start building that platform. That is the key. And that's what we teach you at Bookbound. So go to bookboundworkshop.com. And again, we'll get a free copy of the book, The Power of Authority, when you register, but go now before we are sold out. And so with that, that is the end of the webinar. If you have any questions, please put it in the chat. Happy to answer those. And I'll wait on here for just a second or so, but I'll leave you with this. There was many years that I didn't take action on what I knew I was supposed to do. I knew I was supposed to write a book. I knew, but I didn't know all the hows. Don't worry about the hows. You don't have to get it right to get it going. You just have to get going. You just have to take action. And so join us at Bookbound, and hopefully I'll see you and meet you in person next month. Thanks, everybody.